Part 43. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 421. Fen Yu, who was sitting in front of the live broadcast watching the live broadcast, suddenly sat up. An anxious look appeared on his originally happy and proud handsome face. Without thinking, he dialed the message to Yu Hai, the principal of the First Military Academy. However, he was not completely confused. He knew that Bai Qianchun could not be exposed as his wife. Instead, he used the excuse that Ye Yang was the brother that his wife cared about most, saying that his wife was worried and came to ask for news, so he just called this communication. Yu Hai said a lot to ensure that they were fine, and he almost finished talking before he calmed down the anxious Fen Yu. After hanging up the call, Yu Hai still had an expression of doubt on his life. He looked at the principals who were looking at him and said in confusion, "It's that boy Fen Yu. That boy used to be very cool. He didn't even bother to say a few more words to me and ran away. I didn't expect that he would be so caring and long-winded this time." Several principals had heard a few words just now with their ears open, and upon hearing the words, they all despised him as an old bachelor. You don't understand this, right? A man who has a wife is different from a man who doesn't have a wife. How can he not care about the younger brother that his wife cares about? Why don't you ask me to understand this thoroughly? Go back and sell it to his wife. Oh, forget it, why are you talking to Lao Yu so much? How can he, an old bachelor, understand the thoughts of a man who has a wife? Hey, I'm talking about Lao Qian. Don't you rub salt in Lao Yu's wounds. Lao Yu didn't marry a wife because of his own fault. It's not like he didn't catch up with him when he was young. He has become a cucumber when he is old. No one wants it? That's right, why are you so mouthy? This is Lao Yu's sad thing. Yu Hai rolled his eyes and laughed angrily as he listened to this group of people harming him, and then silently issued an instruction to ensure the safety of the candidates. But Bai Qianchun's team, which everyone was worried about, now looked quite relaxed. Okay, the signal is gone, we don't have to worry about being monitored anymore. Ye Yang put down his hand, raised his head and smiled at Bai Qianchun, indicating that his mission was completed. The other members of the team who haven't figured out the situation are a little confused. You made a signal shielding device. Ye Yang bared his teeth with a bright smile, yes. The team members turned to look at their captain again. Why do you do this? Bai Qianchun met their suspicious eyes and explained with a bit of solemnity on her face, I suspect there is something wrong with this central area. There are too many ferocious beasts here. According to normal phenomena, ferocious beasts will divide their territories. But here, ferocious beasts live together and have not killed each other, so I think someone may have intervened or even manipulated these ferocious beasts. Also, the candidate's signal suddenly disappeared on the electronic radar just now, which is probably man-made. You must know that the signal of the military academy on our optical brain will not affect its operation even if the candidate dies. It suddenly disappeared or was removed artificially. Otherwise, the candidate may have entered a place that blocks the signal. This kind of place cannot be natural, it must be man-made, just like Ye Yang made an information blocking device. Zhu Bao's clever mind turned around and he realized, the captain means that there are people hiding in this central area, and they may even be monitoring us through live broadcast, so we simply got a signal blocking device so that they can't see our whereabouts. Bai Qianchun gave him a teachable look. Yes, that's the reason. Then what should we do now? The team members also looked solemn and looked at her with trusting eyes. Bai Qianchun pursed her lips and thought for a while and said, I have calculated the ratio between the points in the electronic radar and the real world, and I can roughly determine where the signal disappears, so I plan to go to the place where the signal disappears and take a look. Okay, the team members simply nodded and decisively agreed to continue rushing in with her. Bai Qianchun was naturally very concerned about their safety, especially after seeing the dense distribution of those ferocious beasts. She took out 2 bamboo buckets containing medicinal powder and asked them to replenish their bodies. Apply more. After a long run just now, some of the powder on the group's body was inevitably shaken off. They were sailing with caution, so now they had to apply an extra layer just in case. This odor-eliminating powder was really easy to use. Bai Qian-chun led them along for more than half an hour. Still no vicious beasts were targeting them, and they successfully reached the place where the radar signal disappeared. This place is a rugged forest of strange rocks, with climbing vines and strange rocks. They are covered with moss. If you look carefully, you can see that there is still a faint dark red color on the stones, but they seem to be very old. It almost blends into the rainforest, with no flaws visible. Bai Qian-chun and others did not get close, but stopped in the woods not far away, lying on the canopy of dense leaves and observing in this direction. Quan Lang looked around and found nothing, with a disappointed expression on his face. Is this really where the signal disappeared? If you want to see a person in life, you will see a corpse in death. There is neither the candidate nor his corpse. Bai Qian-chun looked in the direction of the strange stone forest and narrowed his eyes. My calculation is not wrong, it is here. Ya Yang and I go over and take a look. You continue to hide here. I will give you 2 more barrels of odor elimination powder. If Ya Yang and I haven't come out after an hour, you can restore the signal and call for help, or escape and call for help. In short, don't come down to find us, run away if you can. No, it can't be so serious, right? This is also an examination room. After all, the team members swallowed in surprise and realized something was wrong. From Bai Qian-chun's tone, it seemed that this was not just a test set by the military academy. Ya Yang patted Qin Xiao on the shoulder and said with a grin, "Don't think too much, we just made the worst plan. As for Sister Chun's previous warning to you to run away, don't take it to heart. If Sister He Chun can't handle it, it's useless for you to come down here to look for her. You might even get killed in one fell swoop. Why stay and destroy her if you can run away?" Qin Xiao, although the first part is very touching, the last half of the sentence is too shocking. However, the combined strength of the 2 of them is indeed no match for them. In the end, a few people obeyed the command and stayed on standby. Bai Qian-chun and Ya Yang, as pathfinders, fell to the ground lightly, and then the 2 of them flew into the strange stone forest quickly as if they were flying, almost in one fell swoop. In a blink of an eye he disappeared. The team members who were still watching from the top of the tree had to exhale when they saw the scene and admitted that they were indeed dragging their feet. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 422. After Bai Qian-chun and Ya Yang got into the strange stone forest, they quickly discovered clues based on their previous life experience. The moss on the strange rocks was worn and stained with fresh mud marks. They followed these traces and quickly found many messy footprints on a path on the east side of the central circle of the strange stone forest. Although they stepped on the rotten leaf field and the groundwater was full, the ground would quickly bounce back without leaving any traces if a footprint was left. There are too many footprints on this road, as if it has been stepped on repeatedly, and many people stepped on it, so the traces are particularly messy and muddy, as if they are afraid that no one will find it. Look, there is an open stone door there. Ya Yang suddenly spoke in a low voice, pointing his finger in the direction of a huge rockery of strange rocks, where there was a dark stone door open. There were expressions of surprise on both of their faces. Did they deliberately drive them in? Or are you confident that no one can find this place, so you turn on the ventilation? No matter what it was, the 2 of them looked at each other and decided to go in and find out. Bai Qian-chun reached out and handed over a pill. Ya Yang skillfully took it and held it under his tongue to detoxify and smoke. He had taken it a lot in the ancient martial arts world in his previous life and was very used to it. After getting ready, the 2 of them, led by Bai Qian-chun, walked towards the stone gate one after another. To their surprise, there was not only a cave behind the stone door, but also a space. There was an underground passage hidden underneath. After entering the underground passage, there was a snow-white passage and a high-tech underground space. The dazzling white color and the faint smell of pungent potion in the air reminded Bai Qianchun of a laboratory. Thinking about the missing candidates again, this is probably an underground illegal laboratory. Bai Qianchun stopped outside the entrance of the passage and frowned, as if recalling some unpleasant memories. Her face looked a little cold and ugly. Ye Yang didn't dare to laugh. He hid behind the door and asked cautiously, "Should we go in? The underground laboratory should have strong surveillance. I turned on the signal jamming device before I came in. It shouldn't be possible for the two of us to sneak in secretly." As soon as he finished speaking, a piercing alarm suddenly sounded in the laboratory, which frightened Ye Yang. His eyes widened. "Oh no, no, we were discovered before we even entered? That one, the open stone door, is indeed here to catch us." Ye Yang muttered to himself while turning his head to look at Bai Qianchun, wanting to see what she meant. Bai Qianchun pursed her lips, her dark eyes were cold, and she said coldly, "Let's go in." Ye Yang looked surprised. "Are you really going in? I don't know what's going on inside yet." Bai Qianchun glanced at him and said, "Don't worry, that alarm sound is not for us. Someone has already broken in before us." Ye Yang's eyes widened, and before he asked her how she found out, he saw that she had already entered very quickly. Ye Yang quickly shut his mouth and followed up. This underground laboratory has a huge space and many passages, like a maze. There are countless hidden or obvious doors scattered in the winding passages leading to different laboratories and partitions. Only insiders know these. Where does the door lead to? For example, Bai Qianchun and Ye Yang, two new arrivals, almost lost their way in these identical passages no matter how smart they were. "Quick, quick, go to Area 1. A group of people broke in. Mr. Lin asked us to go over and help clear them out. Inform old Wang that bastard is coming with him. A few days ago, he made a bet with me to see whose gun was more accurate. I just have this opportunity to give it a try." A group of strong men with big shoulders and round waists, full of ferocious looks and blood, cursed and hurriedly ran through the dazzling snow-white passage. The two people who were clinging to the ceiling like two spiders jumped down after the group of people passed by. Ye Yang stood in the passage, looking at the group of strong men who disappeared into a door. His expression became more solemn. Those people smelled of ferocious blood. They had seen blood, and they didn't smell like good people. "This underground laboratory does not seem to be a good one. Sister Chun, you said that there is such a large underground laboratory hidden in the center of the examination room. Does the First Military Academy know about it?" Bai Qianchun squinted her eyes thoughtfully. "Maybe I didn't know before, but I definitely know now." She seemed to understand why the First Military Academy sent them the mission that rewarded 10,000 points. This was an attempt to seize the opportunity. A task was issued to allow the laboratory personnel who were monitoring the outside world to focus all their attention on the candidates coming to the central area, and the First Military Academy took advantage of this opportunity to send people to sneak into the laboratory. As for these candidates who took over the mission, they were just bait. The First Military Academy never expected that they would enter the depths of the central area. After all, there were so many densely packed vicious beasts in the central area, and it was impossible for ordinary people to break through these vicious beasts so quickly. A siege of beasts broke in. Of course, this was the plan of the military academy before. Now I am afraid that even the people at the First Military Academy who planned this operation did not expect that some candidates actually entered the depths of the central area, and even followed them underground. Laboratory. Bai Qianchun came back to her senses, looked at Ye Yang with deep eyes and said, "Let's go. The underground laboratory is in a chaotic area now. No one noticed us. Let's just find a door and go in and have a look. At least you have to know what this is, an underground laboratory for research. Then they found a door at random, and were lucky enough to enter the experiment site directly. I saw a person being tied to the operating table. Next to him, two people wearing white coats and masks were holding something in their hands and planning to inject him. The person on the operating table had his mouth gagged and was full of blood. His head was sweating profusely and his face was pale as he struggled. During the struggle, his face inadvertently turned towards their direction. Jianyang, when Yang saw that face, his pupils trembled on the spot, and then he rushed over angrily when the two men in white coats turned their heads in surprise. "How dare you kidnap my brother for experiments, you two evil creature!" After a violent beating with all their strength, the two men in white coats could no longer fight back. They could only scream with snot and tears and beg Yang for mercy. Yang snorted coldly and had no intention of letting them go. He kicked it out and hit the wall, then slid to the corner and passed over. Bai Qianchun glanced over there and did not stop Yang. Instead, she walked to the edge of the operating table in 3 steps and untied Jianyang. After Yang finished beating the person, he hurriedly came over, lay down on the operating table, and put his face in front of the shocked Jianyang. "Jianxiaoyang, are you okay? What's going on? You're not taking the martial arts test well. How come you were caught here and tied to the operating table?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 423. Jianyang's small body was slumped upright, and his chest heaved violently. Then he took a deep breath, and his pale face due to fright slowly returned to color. He looked upward, although he was a little disgusted by the face that was too close. His big face could be seen clearly from his nostrils, but he was still very happy with Yang's unabashed concern, and felt warm in his heart, which melted away the fear in his heart. Bai Qianchun grabbed Yang's back collar and pushed him away. Then he reached out to help Jianyang sit up and asked, "When did you come in here?" "You, who are you?" Jianyang followed her strength and sat up. After hearing the voice, he quickly turned his head and looked at Bai Qianchun's unfamiliar face. His expression was a little confused. Yang happily came over to help explain, "This is Sister Chun. She took the Yirong Dan. Now she is just the candidate Bai Qianchun. She comes from Muyuan Star, but she is not the master of Muyuan Star. You have to remember that, but don't reveal your secret." Jianyang's stubborn, handsome yet childish face showed a shocked expression, and he held back a few words in front of Bai Qianchun's unfamiliar face. "Okay, that's amazing." Even the voice changed. Then he hurriedly said with a serious face that he would keep the secret and would not expose it. Yang patted his shoulder happily, turned to look at Bai Qianchun and asked with a smile, "Sister Chun, do you have anything else to add?" Before the formal meeting between the two in the examination room, Yang had never seen Bai Qianchun's new face. She recognized him solely based on her fighting skills. Naturally, she did not know the information about Bai Qianchun's disguised identity this time. "I can't ask during the live broadcast, but now, I can take advantage of the lack of signal to ask." Bai Qianchun calmly explained the identity she created. She was a relative of a pharmacy master in the Muyuangxing Experimental Park. She was admitted to the experimental park as a student. She had an outstanding talent for making meatballs and was an orphan. Yang and Jianyang both nodded to express their understanding. After such an interruption, Jianyang had completely recovered from the fear of letting the fish on the chopping board be slaughtered, and then talked about the whole story of him being kidnapped to the laboratory. It turned out that Jianyang accidentally overheard two candidates talking under the tree where he was staying yesterday when he was resting. There was a patch of night flowers blooming at night on the edge of the central area. This kind of night-blooming night flower was extremely rare and was classified as high-level in the exchange list listed by the Military Academy. Each herb can be redeemed for 50 points. Jianyang thought that it was just on the edge of the central area. Although it was a bit dangerous, it was not impossible to take risks. Moreover, the two candidates said that other teams would go to pick them at night, so he followed suit and wanted to pick a few flowers. After he arrived at the examination room, he didn't meet any teammates he could get along with. When hunting ferocious beasts, he could only manage to kill a few B-level ones. If he continued like this, he would easily be eliminated, so he panicked a little. After determining the location, Jianyang headed towards the central area at night and stayed there until dawn in the early morning when the night-blooming night flowers finally bloomed. But what he didn't expect was that just as he walked over cautiously, there was a sudden explosion in the central area. An SS-level leopard came out, and he was thrown to the ground with almost no way to fight back. He didn't even have a chance to press the help button, and then he fainted for some reason. When he woke up again, he was carried into the stone forest by two men wearing fierce animal skins, and then brought into the underground laboratory. Not long after that, he was sent here and tied up on the operating table. By the way, the two men in white coats just said they wanted to inject me with something that could control me. The people above them wanted to study another power in me. Jianyang frowned and tried to think back what those two white coats said at that time. Another force. Bai Qianchun raised an eyebrow. It should be after our ancient martial arts. Yang muttered, maybe they lured you to the central area on purpose. Huh, you know you have to pick the softest persimmons. Why don't you see them coming to me and Sister Chun? Jianyang thought for a moment along his train of thought and said sincerely, maybe you and Sister Chun are too powerful. They dare not arrest you for fear of making too much noise. Yang ruffled his hair and said happily, you're right, we are too powerful, you have to work harder, otherwise someone will still treat you as a weakling in the future. Jianyang immediately tightened his face and nodded seriously, saying that he would study harder in the future. After the initial chat, the three of them carried the two white coats who had leaned over the corner to the operating table and tied them up, and then they were able to observe the laboratory. This laboratory is also a pure white space. The space is not too big. There is only a test table with countless beakers, test tubes, and other experimental equipment. Apart from this, there are only two operating tables. There are very few furnishings. Bai Qianchun lowered his head and picked up a needle that had fallen on the ground. This was what the two men in white coats wanted to inject into Jianyang's body. Hearing from Jianyang's words, Bai Qianchun seemed to be able to control him. I have always liked to study drugs and the like, so I am also very interested in the contents of the syringe. After following Yang and looking around in a big circle, he walked back and said to the thoughtful Bai Qianchun, by the way, those two white coats I saw when I was awake were I came in through the small door that slid open on the left with the syringe. The other two people who sent me in came in through the small door on the right and then left. There may be another laboratory in the small door on the left. Bai Qianchun turned around and put the needle in the space. Then she raised her eyes and looked in the direction Jianyang said, then go over and take a look. The small door on the left slid open, but the scene inside made the three of them stunned and shocked. In a huge space dozens of times larger than their small laboratory just now, tall transparent water columns stood vertically. They were arranged neatly and orderly, with a total of 5 rows, each row of 10, for a total of there were 50 of them, and there were monsters with closed eyes soaked in the water column. To be precise, they should be people with various animal characteristics. Some people have cat ears, some people have dark green scales on half of their bodies, and some people have a pair of animal claws or even tails, but there is no doubt that they all look unhealthy, and their faces are blue and purple. He was stiff, with a fearful and ferocious expression remaining, and his body was also deformed and twisted, showing the stiffness of a dead person. There are also wounds and defects on various parts of their bodies. Some are missing arms and legs, and some have had their bellies cut open and their internal organs are gone. Jian Yang, who had the least experience, could not hold back and trembled. Thinking of what those two men in white coats injected into him, would it turn him into such a monster? Thinking of this possibility, Jian Yang felt a wave of fear in his heart, and secretly warned himself that he must be more cautious in the future. If brother Yang and sister Chun hadn't arrived in time this time, he would have been doomed. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 424. The three of them walked in and looked at each water column. None of the 50 water columns were empty. Ye Yang turned to look at Bai Jian Chun with a troubled expression and asked, Sister Chun, do you think these people soaking in it it's not a hybrid between the Orc Empire and our human empire? I heard that there are many such hybrids in the frontier star. Bai Jian Chun shook her head, probably not. Although hybrids of orcs and humans do not have complete animal shapes and retain some orc characteristics, most of them are quite natural. For example, a cat's ears cannot only grow one, but one yes, the tails are not only half-length, they look nondescript. Judging from their expressions and body structure, these people must have been forcibly transformed into half-orcs by something. Jian Yang was surprised, who in our Huayao Empire would not think of turning himself into a hybrid half-orc? Hybrids have a very low status in the empire and can be captured and sold as slaves. Ye Yang patted his head, then have you ever thought that this laboratory was caused by the Orc Empire? Jian Yang's mouth opened in an O shape in shock. Did the Orc Empire reach into the main star? And built the laboratory in the central area of the examination room of the first military academy, the cradle of talents in the Huayao Empire? How long does this hand stretch out? No, the more I think about it, the scarier it becomes. Bai Jian Chun didn't say much, her deep eyes were filled with thoughtfulness and even some speculation. Previously, the underground laboratory on Jupiter was used to study red silk cells, and the underground laboratory in the central area of the main star's first military academy examination room forcibly transformed people into half-orcs. What is the connection between the two? This reminded her of the red thread cell that turned into deep purple and got into His Highness's brain. His Highness went crazy several times because of the red thread cell. During this period, he even lost his mind and didn't know what he had done. There are also several people who were found to be crazy and painful by Feng Yuyu's red silk cell examination. In connection with what Jian Yang said just now, the thing in the needle can control him. Several points instantly connected into a line in her mind: red thread cells, deep purple red thread cells drilled into the brain, forcibly transformed into orcs, controlled. Someone used red silk cells as the main material to make dark purple red silk cells and put them into people's brains to forcibly transform people into orc form. What is the use of transforming people into orc form? Bai Jian Chun knew very little about the situation in the Orc Empire, but he knew the basic situation. In the Orc Empire, the higher pure-blooded orcs naturally suppress the lower orcs, and the Fox clan, as the royal family of the Orc Empire, had a more the talent of hypnotic ability can hypnotize and control low-level orcs. If drugs are used to transform people into mutant varieties with orc genes, and their bodies possess orc characteristics, then the Fox King will have the ability to suppress and control these people. If the senior officials or soldiers of the Huayao Empire were implanted with this kind of thing silently, it would be equivalent to losing their combat effectiveness and accepting the control of the Fox King. If the Fox King allows them to open the door to welcome the orc army into Huayao, if they want to honor the empire, they might do it. Bai Jian Chun pursed her lips, with a solemn look on her face. If her guesses were true, it would be bad. The Orc Empire might have arrived in Huayao earlier than she and Feng Yuyu had guessed. The Imperials have planted the spies' cancer, and the plan has taken shape. No matter whether this guess is true or not, She will talk to Fen Yu about it after the exam is over. The internal search within the Legion cannot continue so slowly and must be accelerated. Let's go to the next door. Oya Yang and Jian Yang saw the solemn look on her face and did not dare to refute. They followed her like two little followers and ran behind her. Their luck didn't know whether to say it was good or bad. After the second door opened, it was still filled with water jets of various deformed orcs as before. Opening another door was still the same. The 5 consecutive rooms were all filled with various deformed orcs. If Bai Qianchun and Ya Yang hadn't had good memories, they could roughly remember the names of the people soaked in the water in each laboratory. It's a deformed shape, otherwise I might think that I've gone around in a circle and returned to the original laboratory. It wasn't until they opened the 10th door that they finally saw different rooms. Is this the main control room? Ya Yang looked at the surveillance video with various images in front of him and a control panel with a dazzling number of buttons. He was immediately happy, but before they could come and check, the door on the opposite side opened. A group of fierce bodyguards protected a miserable old man with gray hair on his temples and hurried towards the door from the next room. Quick, quick, Mr. Lin, we have arranged a quick escape route. There are too many people outside. Our laboratory cannot be saved. You are the center of our laboratory. As long as you are fine, all our sacrifices will be saved is worth it. The old man who was being protected obviously didn't like the nagging of the fat man next to him, so he shot his cold eyes over. But when he noticed Bai Qianchun and 3 people standing inside the door, his cold eyes turned into shock. The group of people protecting him also reacted immediately and protected the old man behind him. Each of them had fierce eyes, and countless guns were pointed at Bai Qianchun and the 3 of them. Who are you? Jian Yang's neck shrank, but Bai Qianchun and Ya Yang were not frightened. Bai Qianchun's face remained cold, her eyes stared at the old man, her beautiful and cold phoenix eyes narrowed. Oh, the central figure in the laboratory. Unsurprisingly, these words reached the ears of the old man and the group of people opposite him. The old man's eyes became colder and colder, but the fat man next to him shrank his neck and started sweating. No way, there was actually someone in the main control room, and he also exposed the big secret of their laboratory. Can he still save his life when he originally wanted to escape with Mr. Lin on his lap? The next second, without giving him more time, the sound of the energy gun rang out, and countless laser beams were fired at Bai Qianchun and the others. Bai Qianchun and Ya Yang exchanged glances. A transparent wind wall formed in front of the former, while the latter quickly backed away while carrying Jian Yang. The fierce fighting sound immediately occupied the whole room, and it was also mixed with the voice of the old man shouting angrily, "Don't beat them to death, they have other energy in them, they are the best test subjects, with them the experiment will definitely be successful." After Bai Qianchun heard the words experimental subject, her dark eyes gradually turned cold, and her figure shot towards the group of people outside them as fast as a black light. After a while, the group of fierce bodyguards' heartbreaking cries of pain were heard from the middle, and more than 10 of the dozens of people who were originally protecting the old man in the front row fell down in the blink of an eye. The old man finally realized how difficult Bai Qianchun was to deal with. He kept retreating while being protected, and ordered with a gloomy look on his face, "There is no need to keep her, kill her quickly. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 425. In a room in the laboratory filled with water column deformed experimental subjects, a group of well-trained soldiers with blood on their bodies quickly cleaned up the corpses on the ground, and captured those who were still breathing and tied them up. At this time, a door slid open, and a lean and capable team of 8 people, bathed in blood, came out. The leader was Suke, the teacher Bai Qianchun and the others had met before. When the soldiers in the room saw him, they immediately stopped what they were doing and saluted respectfully, "Admiral." Yasuke hurriedly walked in with military boots on his face, a trace of blood on his face, and a strong aura. A pair of eagle eyes on his cold face scanned the room like a sharp sword. After 2 seconds, he asked in a low and cold voice, "Have you found any trace of Mr. Lin?" The soldiers' backs tensed and they shook their heads in unison. "No, we only met this group of laboratory thugs." "Admiral, what are we going to do with this group of people?" Suke frowned and glanced at the group of burly men on the ground who were still wailing in disgust. According to his style on the battlefield, he must have killed them directly, but now that this was the scope of the first military academy, he forcibly restrained himself. With murderous intent, he said coldly, "Send it to the principal and let him handle it." "Yes." After saying a few short sentences, Suke led the soldiers behind him and planned to continue looking for traces of Mr. Lin, but before he could walk out of the room, he suddenly heard a burst of violent shooting. Suke paused, turned to look in the direction of the sound, and narrowed his eagle eyes. "Go over and have a look. Also, send a few more people to find the kidnapped candidate to ensure his safety." "Yes," the soldiers in the room responded immediately, and then Suke led the people and rushed towards the direction of the sound. "Damn it, you're going crazy, you're going crazy, you're going crazy." When Suke and others rushed over, he saw a clean small room. 3 people were holding open a door and peeking into another room with their buttocks sticking out. There was also a loud voice exclaiming. A person behind Suke was surprised. "Isn't that the voice of Lao Liao? Why is he here?" Also, the 2 heads stacked below him are candidates, right? That's right, the people who were holding the door open and watching Bai Jianchun fight the group of people single-handedly were Ye Yang and Jian Yang, who were brought out by Ye Yang. As soon as they hid in the door, they met an anxious man. The stupid soldiers rushed over to support. Ye Yang and Jian Yang were afraid that this stupid soldier would cause trouble and get killed, so they quickly stopped him with quick eyesight and hands. The situation became like this. The 3 of them stacked beside the door, pulling on the door frame to watch the fierce battle inside. Originally, they planned to rush in to support them if Bai Jianchun couldn't withstand them alone, but after a few minutes, they had no intention of rescuing and could only pick their feet and clap their hands and shout 666. Ye Yang and Jian Yang were not too shocked by Bai Jianchun's performance. The former, as a veteran player, knew how powerful Bai Jianchun was, while the latter had always thought that the Star Master was invincible, so after the initial surprise, there was no strange emotion. It's natural, and I even take it for granted. Only the 3rd stupid soldier who appeared was dumbfounded, and from time to time he couldn't control his words and applauded. After hearing the sound, Lao Liao turned around, showed a silly smile to Suke and other comrades, and said with excitement, "General, Tantu, you also heard the sound and came over, but over there. No help is needed, there is a little girl inside who is very powerful. Dozens of people with energy guns couldn't hit her, but she made them fall down one after another." The soldiers he called Tantiu and Warrior and several soldiers behind Suke looked surprised. "What kind of little girl is she? It sounds really powerful." They curiously passed through the crack in the door and planned to take a look, but the next second they became nervous and their expressions changed drastically. No, they activated the mecha. Even Sukyu's face suddenly turned very ugly. The main star is a forbidden mecha zone. Only mechas that practice in the military academy or those who have obtained approval can use mechas on the main star. They are operating in secret this time. Before they came, they did not expect that an illegal underground laboratory would be able to use mechas. What made such a big noise was not only the numerous thugs who looked like desperados, but also the experimental subjects in this laboratory were shocking. They were more audacious than they had guessed, and even violated the law. The taboo of Wayao Empire. Now these people actually dare to activate mechas. Suke looked stern. This was no longer a trivial matter, but a major matter above S and level. Immediately afterwards, he solemnly opened his long legs and ran over quickly to prepare for support. Although this laboratory was large, it could not carry several mechas at the same time. There was a high possibility of landslides here. The soldiers behind him also looked tense, and they all rushed in with their heads down. Jian Yang, who noticed the movement and was pulled to the side by Ye Yang, was also very anxious now. Brother Ye Yang, do we want to help? Although Sister Chun is powerful, she is also a mortal body and cannot be compared to the mecha shell. Hard. Ye Yang shook his head with a smile and raised the corners of his mouth. No, just watch from here. Our Sister Chun is very powerful. Jian Yang wrinkled his face, but Ye Yang held his shoulders and said, it's nothing to worry about. Don't worry, it will be over soon. Jian Yang didn't know why, but he still suppressed the worry in his heart. He gritted his teeth and stood still, continuing to carefully observe the fighting situation inside. I saw Suke and the others just rushed into the room. Bai Qian Chun, who had been blocked by a few strong men and couldn't get close, suddenly swayed and flew away from them. He even stepped on their shoulders and rushed towards the few people who were standing there. With the help of Mr. Lin, who was climbing into the mecha cabin, Bai Qian Chun stepped on Mr. Lin's feet first and jumped into the mecha cabin under the shocked and stunned eyes of Mr. Lin and others. Without giving the man inside the mecha a chance to react, Bai Qian Chun clung to the shell above the mecha cabin with one hand, swung his body, kicked the man's chin, then turned around and squeezed in, giving another blow. She kicked him on the chest, raised her hand to hold him down, stabbed him in the stomach with an elbow, and slashed his back with a knife. In just 3 seconds, Bai Qian Chun completed a set of skillful attacks and quickly subdued the mecha pilot. Then she poked her head out of the mecha cabin and met Mr. Lin, who reacted quickly and was directing people to climb down. A sneer appeared at the corner of her mouth, a pair of dark eyes looked down at the old man. You can't run away. Mr. Lin's expression suddenly changed, and veins popped up on his forehead. He shouted anxiously at the people below, quick, get all the mechas out. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 426. When Bai Qian Chun heard this, the corner of his mouth curled up. He still wanted to use the mecha, but it was too late. A handful of pine needles flew out from her hand, hitting the wrists of all those who were about to take out the mecha, causing them to scream and lose their strength, followed closely by another handful of pine needles. Flying randomly, one after another flew towards the necks, wrists and ankles of the group of people, completely killing their small movements. Within a few seconds, under the influence of several rounds of flying pine needles, the remaining 20 or so thugs fell to the ground one by one, wailing continuously. Suke and others who just rushed in but were useless. Mr. Lin. With no one to help him, Mr. Lin's feet gave way and he fell to the ground. He looked at Bai Qian Chun, who jumped off the mecha in shock. You don't have a superpower. What kind of power do you have? Bai Qian Chun glanced at him lightly. Why should I tell you? Then, without giving him a chance to speak, she bent down to pick up Mr. Lin, who was struggling, removed his chin, and slid the person directly in front of Suke. Teacher, this is the central figure in this laboratory. I leave it to you. Yes, and also, I already know the reason why the candidates lost contact. It is because this laboratory was not live broadcast just now, so we still need the teacher to help us with the verification. Teacher, can you? A few stupid soldiers looked at her. That's it? Is this the request? Don't you want to ask any more questions? Suke was a little calmer than them. His cold eyes looked at Bai Qian Chun in front of him with a faint light. He nodded with a serious expression on his cold face. Okay. Bai Qian Chun curled up his lips and let go of his hand. Mr. Lin, who was holding him in his hand, also fell to the ground with a crash, staring with malicious eyes and yelling. A soldier behind Suke immediately flew over after seeing this. He quickly opened his mouth, checked his mouth, and after making sure that nothing was hidden, he pushed back his removed chin, quickly put a muzzle on his face, and then quickly took out the restraining handcuffs. Put it on him. Looking at the other soldiers, they also spread out and handcuffed the thugs who were still alive on the ground, and gagged their mouths. Even Suke also took the initiative to help. Ya Yang and Jian Yang also hurriedly walked in from outside the door to help clean up the bodies and help search for those who were still alive. While cleaning up the body, Lao Liao peeked over to Bai Jianchun. After finishing, he touched Ya Yang's arm with his elbow and said, "I watched the live broadcast of the military academy exam yesterday. You guys from MUUNCing are so good, really? Is there any special cultivation method? Can you teach me?" One person shuttled under countless energy guns. It was so cool and cool. He really wanted to learn that move. Ya Yang smiled and showed a small tiger tooth. "You can't learn it. This is a technique that is exclusive to our star citizens on Wuyuan planet, and you need to contribute points to redeem it." Lao Liao's eyes lit up. "Then I will immigrate to Wuyuan planet." Ya Yang shook his head again. "No, our Wuyuan planet is still in the construction stage, and the recruitment is very strict. And even if you immigrate to Wuyuan planet, you still have to use the name of the Legion to leave without authorization. Well, how will you have time to earn contribution points and exchange them?" Old Liao choked and felt sad. The raised chests of the soldiers who were listening with their ears pricked up also shrank back and became wilted. Suke also sighed secretly. A look of pity flashed in his cold eyes. Outside the stone forest, Quan Lang, Zhu Bao, and others lying on the top of the dense tree crown stared anxiously in the direction of the stone forest, with anxious looks on their faces. "How's it going? Did you see anyone coming out? Is it an hour? How many minutes has it been now? Hey, what happened with that noise just now? Could it be that the captain and the others were fighting? It's not even an hour yet. It's only been 45 minutes. Why don't you wait a little longer?" So, they stretched their necks and continued to look in that direction, and continued to wait patiently. Another 3 minutes passed, and Zhu Bao's sharp eyes finally saw the figure. He whispered excitedly, "There is movement, there is movement. Someone came out of the stone forest. Let me see, let me see. Hey, those are the captain and Ya Yang, they are coming out." A group of people in the tree immediately shouted excitedly, but then became alert again. "No, there are people around them. Those piles of black clothes look like the combat uniforms of the Legion. Oh, shit, isn't the leader teacher Suke? Why is he still here with the captain and Ya Yang? There is a boy wearing camouflage uniforms next to the captain and Ya Yang. He is a candidate at first glance. Couldn't he be the missing candidate?" The people on the tree communicated in low voices, watched eagerly, and had countless guesses in their hearts. It was not until Bai Jianchun came over and gave them a gesture that they jumped down boldly, and then carefully avoided them. Su Q's group of people wearing combat uniforms surrounded Bai Jianchun and the three of them, chattering and asking about the situation. Due to the confidentiality regulations they had just signed with Suke, Bai Jianchun and Ya Yang concealed the research direction and the large number of deformed monsters in this underground laboratory. They only said that this was an illegal underground laboratory, and now they were taken over by General Suke. When they entered, they happened to encounter General Suke inside. As for Jian Yang, he found clues and was captured by people in the underground laboratory and imprisoned. The other members, Bai Jianchun, didn't say much. The team members were also conscious and didn't ask too many questions. They understood the general situation and knew that the 10,000 reward was about to be received. They immediately prepared to go out. Although there is a reward of 10,000, it is not too much after dividing it into 1 point, so just in case, Even if they get this reward, they cannot relax and have to continue to fight ferocious beasts and find herbs. A group of people surrounded Bai Jianchun and walked out caring for this poor little Jian Yang. Wait, Su Qiu's cold voice sounded from behind, stopping them in their tracks. Quan Lang and others stood there tremblingly like little chickens and looked back, with tangled and tragic expressions on their faces. What did Teacher Su Ke want to do when he stopped them? You won't put more burdens on them and make the exam more difficult, right? No. When they took a closer look, they saw Su Qiu's sharp gaze falling on their captain. They were little melons and seedlings and were not taken seriously by others at all. They were not unhappy, but breathed a sigh of relief. They moved to the side one by one to make way for them, and pairs of curious eyes looked around. Let's be healthy, let's be healthy. Is there anything that has to be said between Teacher Su Ke and the captain? Bai Jianchun also had a surprised look on his face. What's wrong with Teacher Su Ke? Su Qiu's Adam's apple rolled, and he spoke seriously with a solemn voice. With your strength, you can join the army in advance now. I have a special recruitment quota for the 1st Legion. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 427. Be content and happy. It has been 10 days, and the martial arts test is finally coming to an end. It's time for the points to come out soon. I'm so excited, and I'm rubbing my hands and waiting. Looking down and picking up a gun, blindly guessing that Bai Jianchun will be the first in points, although the signal was suddenly cut off that day and we didn't see what happened after they entered the central area. There is no doubt that they entered the central area afterwards. The military academy also announced that they would be rewarded with 10,000 points for completing the mission as a captain. Bai Jianchun could score 5,000 points, which is 5,000 points. This number of points alone is beyond the reach of other candidates. Meeting my first love, our male god Biu and Chef Leng Xiao are not bad either. They also arrived in the central area at that time. The two of them even worked together to kill 2 SS level ferocious beasts. They are very powerful. Lemon tea, yes, they are indeed very powerful, but who said that our white goddess is more outrageous? Just smearing some random powder on your body can kill so many SS level ferocious beasts in the central area. Move freely underneath. Smile slightly. Ha ha ha. I also blindly pressured a white goddess. I heard that bitch Man Zubao said that at that time in the central area, General Su Ke personally offered to give our white goddess a special recruitment spot in the 1st Legion, but, unfortunately, she was rejected by Goddess Bai Humph. Stinky Zubao, he left you in suspense halfway through his words, and didn't say why the white goddess refused. It's so tempting. What a great opportunity. That's the 1st Legion, the 1st Legion directly controlled by His Majesty the Emperor. I heard that the welfare benefits are second only to those of the 3rd Army Corps controlled by the Feng family. Many military academy graduates are trying to get in, but now there are too many people in the 1st Army Corps and they cannot accept a few military academy students. Mecha General of the 1st Military Academy, she is so good, huh? I think the general regretted it later. A woman who didn't even get into the 1st Military Academy doesn't know anything. How can she tell what kind of army she has the potential to join? Now, let me tell you how those bitcha women can compare to men when it comes to piloting mechas. She became famous during the exam when she officially entered the 1st Military Academy and started taking mecha courses. She was still arrogant. When the time comes, the male candidates at the bottom will be better than her, so she shouldn't cry. Bai Shui Bai Ke, damn it, where did this stupid straight man come from to speak? What happened to women? Why can't women pilot mechas as well as men? Our Huayao Empire has also produced many mecha goddesses who crush men. For example, 10 years ago, a mecha defeated 8 enemy beast-type mechas in a row, and Captain Wang Kui, known as the Beast Suppressor, or 8 years ago, he emerged from the sky and led his team to break out of the encirclement by himself. Admiral Kong Yusu, who fought his way out of a certain death situation, and there was also General Kong Yusu, who performed extremely well in the border war 2 years ago and was known as the Mecha Goddess of Fire and the strongest on the Fire Source star. Major General Sheng Baining of Star Master, which one of them is not famous, the dim goddess who outshines other heroes and crushes the male classmates in the same period, just the little brat upstairs, why do you look down on women piloting mechas? Goddess awesome, that's right, why should that little brat look down on me, Goddess white, I'll slap him in the face after Goddess Bi is admitted to the military academy. I heard that the first military academy often plays tricks, and the upper and lower grades join forces for actual combat. Come up with it. Xiao Benben helps me, Goddess Bi, write down this person and blow up his mecha warehouse when the time comes. Loud voice, ha 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 ha, I also wrote it down, and even put it in my memo. Don't be a coward, little bastard in front of me. Don't change your name, but even if you change your name, I will have to take off your vest. Mecha General of the 1st Military Academy, I can't change my name, but I can't change my surname. I'm just waiting for Bai Qianshun to blow up my mecha warehouse, Mimosa shyly replied, oh, why do I think he deliberately wanted to arouse the white goddess? Zhan Tianxia, damn it, the reverse operation, why didn't I think of it? Mu Yuangxing's pumpkin, ha ha ha, I've learned it, I can do this too. With all due respect, Senior Bai, everyone here is rubbish. I'm the strongest when the time comes. Remember to challenge me when you enter the 1st Military Academy. We're not comparing ourselves to anything else, just mechas. Green Pothos, let me tell you, don't just talk about Bai Qianshun. Is it Shui Weiqian who has no face, or Mu Tao and Lin Guiyan who have no face? They also performed very well in the martial arts exam and were easy to defeat. Even Shui Wei, after being hollowed out by Zhu Bao of Bai Qianshun's team that day, didn't he rise again later? Earning points is a struggle. Running 300 miles for love. Speaking of which, the most exciting thing is the points plundering and siege calculations among the candidates in the last 3 days. It was so wonderful that I was dazzled by it. They all went crazy and killed each other. Not only did they have to guard against the opponent, also has to pay attention to the surroundings to prevent the mantis from catching the cicada. The oriole is behind, and behind the oriole, the first cicada to be killed will in turn capture the oriole. In short, I can't tell which team wins. Much profit. As more and more people agreed, the barrage was chattering, and everyone was excitedly discussing the hunting and calculations among the candidates in the last 3 days. They talked about it with gusto, and there was still something to say. It wasn't until 3 minutes later that the martial arts test score list finally came out. They stopped discussing and all looked at the score list with burning eyes. Martial arts exam points ranking. First place, Bai Qianshun, candidate number 19,005, points 125,095. Second place, Shui Weiqian, candidate number 10, points 75,090. Third place, Mu Tao, candidate number 11, points 67,001. Fourth place, Li Jiadan, candidate number 478, points 65,082. Fifth place, Leng Xiao, candidate number 18,000, points 77,970. Sixth place, Ye Yang, candidate number 18,001, points 69,031. Seventh place, Shen Biu, candidate number 03, points 68,992. Eighth place, Qin Xiao, candidate number 458, points 50,980. Ninth place, Sun Xian, candidate number 6,980, points 50,090. 10th place, Yuou, candidate number 6,979, points 50,079. Mimosa was shy, holy shit, I was so shocked that I almost forgot to be shy. 5 of the people from Bai Qianshun's team were in the top 10. Soul of a foodie, family, I am the first goddess in the world. My points and the second place are quite different. One is more than 120,000 and the other is more than 70,000. There is a total difference of more than 50,000 points. Ah, awesome, this score is too amazing. Lemon tea, you can have guessed it a long time ago. Looking at the performance of my goddess Bai, You can tell that her points have already been completely eliminated. In addition, in the next 3 days, she did not overturn or lose her chain. Instead, she continued to rob her. A wave of people want to attack their team, but no, there are so many thousands of fat sheep coming to their door and slaughtered together. If you add one more, the points will go up. Zhantiangxia, I'm envious. It's been 2 years since I entered the first military academy and I don't have so many points. I really want to drop out and retake the exam. I also want to hunt ferocious beasts and rob candidates to earn points, equals omega equals. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 428. The barrage was lively. Except for some fans who supported Shui Weiqian and Sheng Biu, no one questioned the standings. After all, everyone can see the level of Baiqian Chun's team. 5 of the top 10 in the standings belong to. Although the people in their team were shocked, after the shock, they took it for granted and were full of envy. Baiqian Chun is also very satisfied with her points. More than 120,000 points are enough for her to make plans in the military academy. With the ranking list coming out, the entrance examination for the first military academy has also come to an end, and the final decision has been made for the 500 freshmen admitted this time. The more than 300 freshmen at the top of the list were happy and energetic, but the more than 100 freshmen at the back felt sad. Even though they were admitted, they didn't have many smiles on their faces because their points were so embarrassing that they almost never got admitted. Starting from the 130th place on the list, the points of the freshmen dropped off a cliff, until the points of the last 100 freshmen were even as low as double digits, and the last one, who was admitted through the line. The 500th lucky candidate scored only 10 points. Even he himself didn't expect that he could be admitted with so few points. The moment he saw the ranking list, he thought he was daydreaming. His companion rounded his arms and gave him a slap in the face before he woke up. Found this to be true. However, the candidates in the examination room did not know what happened and why they were admitted with such low scores, but the audience watching the whole process knew why. Just one word: volume. It's too curly. The top 100 candidates on the scoreboard are really too hard scored. The reason why they have such high points is from other candidates. Even the first place Baiqian Chun is no exception. She has more than 120,000 points. Less than half of what I earned from hunting was all brought to me by other candidates in the last 3 days. The examinee who was robbed and scored 0 points regretted it so much that those candidates who only had a dozen points and managed to get to the end took advantage. But the matter has come to this, and they have no regrets, and they cannot change it. The entrance examination for the first military academy has ended, but there are still entrance examinations for the second military academy, the third military academy, and the fourth military academy. Some candidates who failed to succeed by one move had to prepare for the entrance exams of other military academies. Regarding this matter, the principals of the second military academy, the third military academy, and the fourth military academy were very happy. They saw it really. There were many talented candidates among the candidates who were eliminated but not admitted. It can only be said that they were lucky. Unfortunately, the points were taken away in the end, but their strength is unquestionable. The principal of the second military academy was so happy that he couldn't get into the first military academy. The principals thanked Yuhai one after another for changing the points rules this year and leaking so many talents. Regarding this, Yuhai smiled on his face and felt disgusted in his heart. Humph, if he hadn't noticed something different in the central area this year and deliberately changed the rules for obtaining points to attract the attention of those people, these bad old men would have really thought that they were the ones who said it. Moved him. When a group of principals left happily and went back to see the application status of their military schools, the expression on Yuhai's face quickly turned serious and he hurried to the control room. The Mr. Lin whom Li caught from the underground laboratory did not have a very tough mouth. A little bit of news leaked out from time to time, and he didn't know how much leaked out today. He had to go and take a look. Bai Jianchun walked out of the gate of the first military academy surrounded by a group of people. Her camouflage uniform was still very clean, and she didn't look like she came from the same trench as the embarrassed candidates around her. As soon as he stepped out of the gate of the first military academy, the optical brain shielding was completely lifted. Not only the messages from the internal network of the first military academy, but the messages from the outside world also rang out one by one. The same goes for the other candidates around her. Everyone subconsciously lowered their heads to check the news. Bai Jianchun also directly opened the optical brain message. The top ones were just issued by the first military academy. Ding dong, congratulations to candidate number 19005 Bai Jianchun for passing the entrance exam and becoming a freshman at the first military academy. The first military academy will start in 3 days. Please come on time from 8 to 12 o'clock on the 4th day. Registration for the first military academy. If the student fails to register within the time limit, it will be defined as the student giving up the enrollment and the student status will be returned. Ding dong, freshman Bai Jianchun ranked second in the literary test and first in the martial arts test. During the entrance examination he performed well and won the title of freshman chief. He was awarded 10,000 points and will be registered as a new student to become an official student of the first military academy. Will be distributed later. Ding dong, during the entrance exam, freshman Bai Jianchun received a total of 125,095 points. The points obtained are valid. The points will be directly credited to the student account after the new student becomes an official student of the first military academy. New student Bai Jianchun, please register on the official website of the first military academy in time to learn about the details and student regulations of the first military academy. Bai Jianchun glanced at these pieces of news about the first military academy, but was not in a hurry to go to the official website of the first military academy. Instead, he looked at the other news that followed. Most of them were sent from Wu Yuanxing to congratulate her on her first place in the exam. What was also surprising was that the eldest Prince Qin Yuchen, a busy man who was so burdened by his father's high-pressure policies and the affairs of the First Army that he had no time to even have a meal and could only drink nutrient solution, took time out of his busy schedule to send her a message. Congratulations message. As for Qin Yuchen, knowing her true identity in disguise, Bai Jianchun was not surprised. Fen Yuyu probably got angry with him to make things easier for her. After all, she has not contacted the imperial prince for a long time. Even after the red silk cell incident happened, Fen Yuyu was the one who bridged the gap. There was no need for her to contact Qin Yuchen personally, but Bai Jianchun heard a lot about Qin Yuchen from Fen Yuyu during this year. For example, his mother was dissatisfied with his childhood sweetheart from the Shui family and started urging her to get married again. His father wanted him to marriage, and even arranged one blind date after another for him with the queen. Qin Yuchen, who was already so busy, had to spare his time to fight guerrilla warfare with them. If he won, he would hide in the First Army Corps, and if he lost, he could only attend the banquet. As the prince of the empire, he represents the face of the Huayao Empire. Once he enters the banquet, he cannot walk away as casually as Fen Yuyu, or even taunt and drive away the women who approach him. He has to give his mother, queen, and father in order to protect the emperor's face. They danced with some of the noble ladies they liked and cultivated feelings. Bai Jianchun held a moment of silence in her heart for this wise imperial prince who was determined to be a good ruler with the overall situation in mind. Then her attention was attracted by the message from Fen Yuxin. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 429. Bai Jianchun changed her true appearance and followed the message in Fen Yuyu's text message and took a speed car all the way to the villa area in the outer ring of the main star. This place is not as prosperous as the central area of the main star. The environment is quite quiet and belongs to the health villa area. There are not many flowers, plants, and trees. Bai Qianchun sat on the flying car and stopped in front of the sentry in the villa area. After showing the certificate given by Feng Yuyu, he smoothly directed the flying car to enter the villa area. Flowers and trees on both sides kept moving backwards. The flying car drove all the way according to the navigation. Arrive in front of the designated villa number 8. Looking all the way, let alone other things, the green environment of this villa area is quite good. Another point is that the privacy is also quite good. Each villa is separated by several hundred meters, with countless intervals in between. With green plants, flowers, and towering landscape trees, you don't have to worry about neighboring villas spying on your own villa. Ever since Feng Yuyu knew that Bai Qianchun was coming, she had been walking around in front of the glass window on the second floor of the villa, adjusting her clothes from time to time, touching her hair and looking outside. Yao Wengxian, who was sitting on the sofa, really couldn't stand it. I asked you, can you please stop hanging around like a peacock with its tail spread out? My eyes hurt. Feng Yuyu raised her peach blossom eyes on her handsome face, glanced at him, and then raised her eyebrows proudly. Why, you are envious. Yao Wengxian snorted, yes, 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 I'm envious. I'm envious that you only saw your wife for half a year. I'm envious that you can only ask your wife to come over to meet you when you're doing business. I'm envious of the jewelry and clothes you gave me, not even a hair in return. The smile on Feng Yuyu's smiling evil face gradually disappeared. He gritted his teeth fiercely and said harshly, who said there is no return gift? She gave me a lot of pills and also gave me a preferential price. Yao Wengxian reminded him, we were given a preferential price for the Third Army. But is this something that couples should give each other? Feng Yuyu choked and glared at him fiercely. I said yes, she made the pills herself, and we are different from other ordinary couples. That is indeed different. It is an agreement between you to get married. It is fake, but other couples are real. Yao Wengxian muttered in his heart, and then spread his hands, saying that if you want to deceive yourself, I can't help it. Feng Yuyu gritted his teeth angrily, and the excited smile on the monster's face also faded a little. Sir, Madam is here at this time. Zhuangshu came up from downstairs to report. Feng Yuyu suddenly became energetic and looked behind him with burning eyes. Where is she? Zhuangshu answered sternly, in the dungeon. Feng Yuyu's smile froze. Yao Wengxian couldn't help but laugh, and glanced over happily, looking at you, you can't even compare to those people in the dungeon. Feng Yuyu gave him a vicious look, then walked downstairs. Yao Wengxian followed behind, suppressing his laughter. On the other side, Bai Qianchun has been led into the dungeon by a Phoenix battleship member wearing regular uniforms. Although it is a dungeon, it is not dark or spooky and damp. Instead, it is built with pure white high-tech, including sliding ladders, identification systems, and robot caretakers. It's a technological thing. The imprisoned people are also in small cubicles. The small cubicles are clean and tidy, like dormitories. The situation inside can be seen through the single-sided glass. Most of the people inside are sitting quietly on the bed in a daze, as if doubting life. Those are the ones that experienced abnormal conditions after drinking the red blood cell attractant last time. 3 days ago, they began to gradually calm down and no longer lost control, but the animal hair and scales on their bodies have not faded away. Feng Yuyu's voice sounded lazily in his ears. Bai Qianchun subconsciously turned her head to glance at him, then moved her eyes away calmly and said thoughtfully, what about the other organs in the body, what's their status? You should have their physical examination reports over the past few days. Yes, Zhuangshu. Feng Yuyu shouted, and Zhuangshu immediately understood and hurriedly sent the physical questionnaire to Bai Qianchun's brain. Bai Qianchun stood and read the report at a glance. Feng Yuyu, who was completely ignored, what the hell, Isn't the casual suit that he carefully selected today that is handsome yet connotative, simple yet noble, not as good looking as a few reports? She didn't even look at him. Fen Yuyu's excited mood subsided, and there was a hint of grievance in her beautiful peach blossom eyes. Bai Qianchun raised her eyes and met his eyes. Fen Yuyu's handsome and evil face was reflected in her beautiful black eyes. Fen Yuyu's heart, which had extinguished the flames, was about to start again, and the small flame slowly started to float, but when he saw her frowning and thinking deeply, she said in a deep voice, "There is nothing wrong with the body organs. Open the door and I will go in and check them myself." Fen Yuyu was completely wilted. This woman's thoughts were all on those brats, and there was no joy at all for meeting again after a long separation. He also gave up completely and did not rush to make trouble at this time. The tip of his tongue touched the back of Moyao lightly and went over to help her open the door. "Come in. The three in this room are the ones who look the most serious physically. Examining them should reveal the problem best." Major General Feng. The three people in the room who were in a daze immediately stood up, straightened their backs and shouted politely. Yes, Fen Yuyu nodded, and then introduced Bai Qianchun to them. "This is Mu Yuan Star Master, my wife, here to help you take a look at your body. If you notice anything wrong with your body, just say, don't hide and tuck." The three big, muscular men immediately had tears in their eyes and excitedly said to Bai Qianchun, who walked in from the door, "Master Mu Yuan Star, is that the miracle doctor who made the miracle medicine? Great, we are saved. Most of my body is covered with fish scales. This morning the fish scales even crawled onto my face. I thought I would die when the fish scales crawled over my head. Me too, I had these spider hair-like things growing on my body. I secretly shaved them off with a knife, and they grew back again. Are you too as miserable as me? I've even grown a fish tail. I'm so proud of you, a man with such a girly appearance. I'm thinking that no one in my ancestors has ever married the orc empire next door. Why do you carry the genes of this mermaid?" One of the bulliest and most ferocious-looking men looked sad, angry, and aggrieved. The other two laughed. "Ha ha ha, you have a muscular upper body and a beautiful fish tail on the lower body. It's really eye-catching. Someone with a fish tail like a major general is called a mermaid. You are just a deep-sea shark at best." The burly man glared at them angrily. "Hey, you two old men, don't make fun of me. Believe it or not, I will jump up and slap you away. Hey, don't worry, we are all good comrades, but you are too rude. If I accidentally slap off your beautiful fish tail, your feet will also be gone. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 430. Seeing the three people laughing and joking, Fen Yuyu, who walked in, and Zhuangshu and Yao Wengxian who followed him, also breathed a sigh of relief. Ever since they woke up from the madness, their bodies had changed again, and their moods had been very low. Some of them even had a bad mentality and started to have an emotional breakdown. Now, they are so carefree and unscrupulous in fighting each other, which is much more pleasing to the eye. A slight smile appeared on Bai Qianchun's lips, and she found the strong man with a beautiful blue fish tail to take his pulse first. The wood-type supernatural power invaded along his wrist to check the situation inside his body. Just like the examination in the report, except for the obvious appearance of his body, which is that his legs have turned into fish tails, the internal organs of his body are normal and even better than those of ordinary people. Bai Qianchun undeterred, the wood-type ability cautiously penetrated his brain. According to her previous speculation, this was the key. As soon as this wood-type power penetrated the edge of her brain, she clearly felt that it was unusual. Although the situation of ordinary people's brains was complicated, even emotional fluctuations did not affect the energy fluctuations in the brain. However, she was exploring this when he was mermaid. He clearly felt that there was an extraordinary energy wave in his brain that was spreading and expanding to all directions in his brain, trying to occupy the entire brain nerves. The reason why he is able to stay awake now is not because nothing is wrong in his mind, but because of the tranquility before danger, before the explosion. Once that dangerous energy completely occupies his brain nerves, he will completely fall into mania, lose human reason, and burst into wild beast-like madness. And that dangerous energy should be red filament cells. Seeing that the expression on Baikin Chun's beautiful face became more and more solemn, the smiles on the faces of the other two patients who were originally happy also faded. Fen Yuyu frowned, but restrained himself and did not speak in a hurry. Asking, he just pursed his lips, with a serious expression on his eyebrows and eyes, looking at Bai Qianchun deeply. Bai Qianchun frowned, slowly took back the hand on the strong man's wrist, and said in a solemn tone, "His condition is not very good. The problem lies in his brain. It should be that the previous attractant-induced brain damage, the red cells in his body were agitated. It sensed the danger and entered the rapid growth period in advance. During the growth period, the ORC genes in the gene fragments it carried were stimulated, causing ORC characteristics to appear on his body. Now it is trying to occupy his entire brain. It will complete the occupation in about an hour, that's when." Mermaid and her two fellow patients swallowed. 3 pairs of eyes looked at her nervously and stammered, "What will happen then?" Bai Qianchun glanced at them with deep eyes, "When the time comes, you will go crazy like a wild beast. If your body can bear it, it will completely transform into a half-orc. If it cannot bear it, it may become like a balloon just like that." It exploded. Hiss! Everyone in the room took a breath, with frightened expressions on their faces. They originally thought that these people would be okay after they calmed down and stopped going crazy. Who knew the situation would be so serious? Fen Yuyu also happily looked at Baikin Chun's serious and pretty little face. Fortunately, she was serious about her work and went straight here as soon as she arrived. Otherwise, if he had followed his idea, he would have reminisced about the past first and then drink tea to express his feelings. If I come back to see them after feeling so longed for them recently, they may have exploded to the point where not even the tail of the fish is left. Fen Yuyu asked seriously, "Do you have a cure?" Bai Qianchun raised her eyes to look at him, and then nodded, "You can give it a try, but there is number 100% guarantee." Mermaid immediately patted her strong chest, with a determined look on her face, "Try it on me first. Anyway, I only have 1 hour to live. If you give it a try, you can still save your life." Bai Qianchun glanced at him appreciatively, "Okay. I still need your cooperation during the treatment. You must remember my voice first. During the treatment, you must listen to my instructions completely. Don't make your own decisions. No matter how painful it is, you must keep your mind clear. The success rate depends entirely on you. Cooperation." Mermaid nodded solemnly, "I remember." Both the doctor and the patient were ready, but the treatment did not start immediately. Fen Yuyu took them to another room, which was a small laboratory, an operating table, and other instruments and medical machinery. Complete. Bai Qianchun glanced at him in surprise, "Have you prepared this villa a long time ago?" Fen Yuyu curled his lips and did not hide anything, "I originally planned to give you this villa to live in. The basement is full of medical equipment and various instruments on the market have been prepared long ago, but a few people had an accident. I couldn't think of any other place to place them for a while to prevent other forces from discovering them. I could only bring them to your villa first. The small compartments were temporarily cleared and taken out once. They are made of non-toxic building materials. If you don't like them, then you can send them away and decorate them according to your own preferences." Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows, "I really need a private and hidden place on the main star. At least as the master of Muyuan star, this identity needs a foothold." Fen Yuyu smiled with a hint of pride in her tone, "I knew it." Bai Qianchun continued, "When the time comes, help me build a room with a Chinese medicine cabinet. Make it larger and put a long table made of non-flammable materials. The tabletop must be clean and there is no need to put other equipment. I will do it myself when the time comes. Prepare. Fenyu nodded seriously. Okay, what about the color and decoration of the room? Bai Qianshun, it's up to you. I believe in your aesthetics. Good. Yao Wengxian followed behind and raised his eyebrows in surprise. The two of them sounded quite familiar to each other. It didn't seem like what he thought Feng Xiao had, a hot face but a cold butt, and a hot head shaver. Tisk tisk, it seems that the fire at the crematorium where Feng Xiao chased his wife was not that big, and it couldn't burn him to death. After the chat, the other two patients, who were determined by Bai Qianshun to be fine now, consciously carried the mermaid to the operating table and constrained his hands and fishtail seriously. Bai Qianshun took out a bottle of red silk cell attractant from Dimension and handed it to the person on the operating table. Drink it. You should have drank this before. After drinking it, you will feel more pain than before. But with my guidance, as long as you are determined, you will not completely fall into pain and madness. Remember, no matter what, you must stay awake and listen to my instructions. Mermaid tightened her face, her eyes were shining with perseverance, and she nodded solemnly. Yes, I will definitely do it, please don't worry, MRS Major General.